Well, good morning, and welcome to our third session of the 16th Annual Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship. We have had two tremendous days, some wonderful speakers, and I don't think you'll be disappointed today either with the lineup we have today. Again, this is the final day. I want to remind you, after each presentation, there'll be a question and answer session, and then after we're done, we'll have lunch today and breakout sessions where you can ask some more questions. So hopefully you can all stay for that. We have a good lineup today. Milena Simic is our Institute Director. She'll have some comments at the end of the day. So again, let's give Ms. Simic and the rest of the committee a hand. They've done a great job these last 3 days putting all this together. And by the way, if you want to use it for class or anything else, it'll be on the YouTube channel. Everything's being recorded, so it'll be on YouTube channel as well. And once again today, I want to thank those Wood Houston Bank. Without Wood Houston Bank, we would not be having this today. Thank you very much for all you do for the college and this community. We really appreciate it. All right, let's get started. And so I'll have Milena come up right now and introduce our first guest of the day.
Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you here today on our third day, one more exciting day of speakers and presentations. We heard yesterday from Professor Corlegia that time is on your side, right? So use it wisely. It's never too early to start with your entrepreneurial journey. I'm very excited to have made a connection with the Marshall High School and the DECA program, which is a part of the expansive offering of the Saline County Career Center. And it is my pleasure to introduce today Mrs. Kerry Henley and the DECA District number 4 lead advisor. Mrs. Henley has been teaching marketing for the last 8 years at the Saline County Career Center located in Marshall. And as the marketing instructor, Henley is in charge of the DECA program, which each year participates in a variety of student projects and has been very successful in several areas of marketing, including leadership. Today, she has part of her group, a couple of students, Gentry Davis and Jackson Russell. And in the picture, you also see Michelle Lynn, Bailey Keeker, and Holly Houston. Please help me welcome Mrs. Kerry Henley and the DECA students.
Good morning. As mentioned before, I am Kerry Henley, and I have been teaching marketing at the Saline County Career Center here in Marshall for the last 8 years, and I am also the DECA advisor as well. So a lot of times people ask me, what is DECA? Well, DECA prepares emerging leaders and entrepreneurs in the careers of finance, hospitality, marketing, and management in the high school level and the collegiate level around the globe. So it's a pretty big student-centered organization. And each year, as was mentioned, we have projects that we present, and we have to decide upon those, and it's a big decision because they're dealing with them all year long. So it's got to be a part of your heart. I'm very fortunate, too, to have beat a lot of chapter firsts this year, and in the last few years as well. But we are the only Missouri chapter to have ever done this in the history of Missouri DECA, where we have a DVP, a state officer, and a national officer. So that's kind of a really wonderful first that we've been able to do as a chapter. And every year for the last 25 years, we've always had representatives on the national, international level for ICDC. And so you guys will actually get to see one of our presenters who have made it on. We have 5 really wonderful students who are going to be competing at ICDC this year in 5 different categories. So there's even more of a chance to earn some of that DECA glass. I don't want to talk too long because today I have brought with me 2 of my high school seniors who are in my advanced marketing class. The first one that I'm going to introduce to you is Gentry Davis, and she has a startup business plan that she had to basically create a 10-page paper and a plan with a problem and solution that she had to identify along with financials. So as part of her project, she had to make sure that was ready to present in February to a judge who actually would take on the role as a loan officer. So typically they present in front of one judge who takes on whatever role it is for their category. And then that judge will ask them a series of questions. So we're gonna do it a little bit differently, where after each presenter presents today, you guys will have about 5 or so minutes to ask any questions you have based on their project and what they have told you. So also before she begins, we have converted the boards. You see a couple of the boards from these students up here. We have converted them to a PowerPoint presentation. And so this is so that you guys can view it, but normally they would be presenting with their boards. So let's start up business plan. She has 15 minutes to basically talk to that judge. And so we're gonna go ahead and begin with Gentry Davis.
Well, good morning. Good morning? Okay, you guys are awake. Well, again, my name is Gentry Davis, and I am a senior at Marshall High School. I've been a part of our DECA chapter for 4 years since being a freshman, and it's been a very great opportunity. Within DECA, I have a business that I own and operate called G-Mays Baking and Milling. So kind of giving you guys a little bit of history about G-Mays, I started that back in January of 2021 as a freshman. I'm also actively involved in FFA. Now, how many of you guys in here have heard of FFA or were a part of FFA? Okay, so we have a few. Within FFA, we have a supervised agricultural experience. Now, that was required for me to do to be a part of FFA all 4 years and be called an active member. Within my SAE, I have decided that I wanted to incorporate my passion for agriculture, but also at the time, I was really passionate about baking. Coming off of COVID, that's what I did to fill my time. So there, I created G-Mays Baking and Milling. G-Mays Baking and Milling is a business here, local, that offers specialty organic and non-GMO milled grains. I know a big thing right now and trending is sourdough bread starters or even bread making. So you need wheat flour to do that. I can supply you with that. I also have some specialty products like blue corn, yellow corn, and white corn meal, and then grits, of course. I also do bake a little bit to help promote these products when needed. So that's a little bit of history about G-Mays. So within DECA, I've done multiple business plans, whether that be a startup business plan here like this one. A hypothetical situation I did with that is including a food truck. In the past, I've done a marketing campaign for specific products as well as an independent business plan as if I were going to get a loan to expand my business for the future. So within DECA, it's been really great to help promote my business and get my feet up and running. So within this plan, I had to, again, identify some problems and solutions, and then kind of identify some financial needs that I would need to get a $50,000 loan to help promote my business and get a food truck to start it up. So here is a specific example of some blue corn that my family has on our farm. It's all grown organically here in Saline County. So it's really awesome because maybe compared to your general products, it's not locally sourced or it's not organic. It has more nutritional benefits and it provides you guys with a knowledge of where your food is coming from. Here is a grain cleaner that I use. This kind of helps to ensure the quality of my products. This is something that I do with all my grain to ensure that there's no chaff and no foreign material that you guys are consuming out there. Moving on, I have this mill. I just recently purchased this in 2022. Within FFA, I was able to receive an SAE grant. And so what's unique about this mill, maybe compared to what you're gonna find with an industrial mill, is that it uses a stone ground. Now, this means it has less heat, making sure that all of the proteins and nutrients within that grain is still intact, providing you guys with more nutritional benefits than maybe what you're gonna find traditionally. Okay, sorry. So then here are some unique products that I have that I bake. Here in the top left corner, I have pies. I like to do these around Thanksgiving. It's a very fun time. In the past, I've had 42 pies where I baked them all myself, so that was a very busy time. Here I have cupcakes. They are a fan favorite at the school, if I must say. Here at the bottom, this is a unique product and I love these very much, are my blue corn muffins. Have any of you guys heard of blue corn? No? Yes? Okay, so we have a few. Blue corn is a very moist and very sweet corn, maybe compared to your yellow corn. So it's a great product and I love baking with it. And then here is a chocolate angel food cake, and I think it's my favorite product that I offer, so yeah. So moving on, through this business plan, I had to identify my primary target market. Through an analysis, I was able to determine it was women 18 to 65 years of age who preferred to cook with locally sourced organic and non-GMO ingredients, all within a 25-mile radius here of Marshall, Missouri. Now, statistically speaking, 65% of the time women do the household grocery shopping. Now, my secondary target market was determined to be any women or men who like to cook or bake at home within value-added ingredients. Next, GMAIS utilizes 4 different channels. We have our social media. Now, GMAIS only has a Facebook account and Instagram account, as this was most applicable to my target market. I'm very active on there where I educate my consumers on the aspect of farm to table. I want to make sure that you guys know where your food is coming from, the process of it, and how you guys are able to utilize those products in front of you. Next, I have visual prints. Now, I do this with brochures. I do lots of local vendor shows and vendor shows across the state. So I'm able to educate you guys through those with different products, and I also have business cards available with me here today as well. Then we have word of mouth, and this one probably is my favorite. I love to hear testimonials about how consumers are able to use my products, the great things that they have to say about them, and even things that I can work on and improve upon. And I think that word of mouth is what spreads the fastest, especially here within our local community. And then, of course, the hypothetical aspect of the food truck. Now, within Marshall, we have learned that convenience is a big factor, and so a food truck has been great to kind of get attention and utilize that to get to you guys directly. So through that, I had to identify 3 problems that GMAIS faces, and that is currently inflation, food shortages, and convenience. Starting with inflation, we just went through COVID, and then recent world issues, we've had inflation across the board, whether that be food to gas and fuel. Statistically speaking, there's been a 13-mark surge. Next, we have food shortages. Recently, Ukraine and Russia have had an issue, and Ukraine is the biggest wheat export in the world. Primary product that I offer is wheat, so trying to combat that and figure out how I can get those products right back to you guys directly, that's been a struggle. And then, of course, convenience. Being located here in a small town and reaching every single one of you guys that I can has been a struggle. So trying to find that way that I can get to you guys directly and conveniently was a problem. So solutions to fix these problems was that I would be purchasing food programs, I would find local sources, and then, of course, the food truck. So food purchasing programs I would like to use would help me to buy on a larger scale, not only to fulfill present orders, but even future orders, and possibly even get a better bang for my buck, as you could say, as far as financially. Then local sources. We are located here in a very agricultural program. So I have many agricultural resources to me, whether that be local honey. I'm able to get that through some family here local. I have farm fresh eggs, dairy products. So that helps for me to cut down costs, but for you guys as well, because it requires less preservatives, giving you guys a more raw and wholesome product that's healthier in the end product. And then, of course, the food truck. Now, this takes convenience to the next level, because not only am I going to be able to serve you guys right here, right now, but I can go across the state and do different events, whether that be for a catering or even local food truck day events. So, to kind of show the financial side of this, within my startup business plan, these are my revenue streams. So this here is my GMAIS price product sheet on the far left. This has each and every single product that I offer. And I calculated each of these product prices by the expenses added to our gross profit to get my product price. Now within this, I also did a 3-year sales forecast. There on the previous slide, I'm sorry, there is a QR code, so you guys are welcome to scan that. It goes straight to a Google Sheet where it has way more in-depth information than what you're gonna see here on this board. So going back, this again has a 3-year sales forecast. This shows the total products sold for years 2024, 2025, and 2026, as well as my total income for each of those years. Now, cost structure, GMA's divided this into 3 different structures. We have our customer acquisition, distribution, and then of course human resource. So starting here with the cost structure, this is all the marketing that I would be doing for my business. Now in the first year, I feel confident that I can do it myself, and I'm doing it right now as we speak because of my experience with DECA, and I think it's manageable. However, in the 3-year forecast, I would like to hire somebody to help me elevate and reach a larger audience and capture more sales in the future. Next, we have our distribution costs. So basically, this is the food truck itself. This has the food truck, gas, maintenance. Now, in the first year, I had to make the initial purchase of $30,000 and then gas and maintenance. However, in the 3-year sales forecast, we don't have so much of the food truck cost expense. However, gas does go up according to some of my research based on that. Next, we have our human resource cost. Now, as the owner, I don't get paid, I guess you could say. However, I do get to have 2 employees. Now, I plan to have them both working part-time simultaneously. And in the 3-year sales forecast, I'd like to have just those 2. However, if it expands, I will be adding more employees to that. Next, we have our key metrics section. Within GMAs, I actually do all of these different holiday seasonal items, and these have been really great for boosting sales at the time, but also kind of getting awareness within the community. So these are each forecasted statements based on my current financials for years 2024, 2025, and 2026. And then if you look here at the bottom in the green, this is the total profit that I would make off of the whole year doing these. Next, I have my detailed financials. Now, this is where it gets really in-depth because it calculates not only overhead costs, but operational costs and all of my income, whether that be from products and other resources. So in my cash inflows, I have, of course, the loan and then any personal money that I would like to put towards it. So that's all there. And then the cash outflows, again, is operational cost, overhead, any machinery or equipment that I would be purchasing at that time. So then again, kind of breaking it down more in depth, for the forecasted statements of income, I have my operating revenue, cost of goods sold, gross profit, and then of course operating expenses. So kind of looking here, the gross profit, I take all my operating expenses and my gross profit and subtract those to get my net income. Now, of course, as business owners, we have to say, spend money to make money, right? So in that first year, of course, I'm losing money. However, in the next 2 years, I will be regaining that revenue and going in a positive direction. And then in conclusion, I have my amortization plan for this loan. Now, I realize in the beginning it has a very high interest rate and a very long term. However, I do plan to refinance after meeting with a loan officer. And so here it kind of goes more in depth about each of my monthly payments and then interest paid throughout the years. So that's kind of just a little bit of an overlook over my startup business plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
As someone who is not very knowledgeable about agriculture or baking or anything like that, you mentioned organic. What if the fields around you are not organic? Where is there any spillover of pesticides or herbicides from the other fields onto yours, which could possibly contaminate?
That's a great question. So within my family's land, we are all certified organic through the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, there are certain precautions that we have to take to ensure that our crops, of course, are not going to be contaminated by those pesticides or herbicides. And something that we do is we have buffer strips. So on the outer corners of the field, we harvest those, and those go to a conventional elevator, while the inside of the grain is still able to go to an organic elevator. We also take precautions as far as when we plant our crops compared to our neighboring fields. So we usually plant a little bit later than when everyone else is, just to watch for that. And we also make sure that it's not a windy day when any of those crops are getting sprayed possibly.
Any other questions? Surely have a couple more questions.
I have
Very
a question.
interesting presentation.
I have a question over here. Gentry, You have plans for growth and expansion. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is it that you are planning, or what is it that you're currently doing to that effect?
So I plan to keep doing this after high school. I just recently, to kind of help expand my project, is adding more products. If there's anything I've learned from owning this business, it's convenience. Customers want convenience. And so I just added a ready-to-go mix to my product line, and it's for my blue corn muffins. In the future, I plan to add a fish batter mix and even a pancake batter mix. And if there's anything else that I've learned, it's that customers want something that they're familiar with. So try something that they're familiar with first before you get too crazy, maybe on some of those other products.
Any other questions? Yeah, right here.
Hello, hi. I used to work for a seed conditioning business, and I saw your small mill that you use to do all of that. With the expansion, do you have any concerns about being able to process that product and be able to, I guess, have it ready for your customers as you grow?
Yeah, so a real big issue that I also face is that all of my grain has the germ in it, so that means it goes rancid faster. So to kind of help overcome that, I try to make it ready to go, but I am a full-time high school student, right? So getting an employee is something I would like to do in the future, as far as maybe part-time, and then I would also like to get maybe another mill. I know that there's a big gluten-free market here within the area, and so getting that maybe market started would be a very great opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Gentry. Gentry will be back to ask some more questions. Kerry, you want to come up and introduce our next speaker? That was tremendous.
So, as you can imagine, it's a lot of information to put into a 15-minute presentation. So Gentry kind of sets the bar when it comes to creating a startup business plan this year. What I'm going to talk to you about a little bit next is a totally different type of project. It involves a 20-page paper, and it is called the Business Solutions Plan. So essentially what you have to do is you have to find a business or an organization that is in need of you helping them solve a problem. So the student has to meet with the business or organization, and they have to kind of decide what it is they can do to help them and work with them throughout the year. So we have Jackson Russell, who has created the project We Voted Today, and he has, again, 15 minutes, and he's actually the one who is going to go on to ICDC next week to Anaheim, California. So this is great practice for him. When he is done, please feel free to ask him questions related to his project, because that would really help him prepare for the judge when they're asking them questions as well. Alrighty? Okay, without further ado, Jackson Russell.
Alrighty. Is it on? Okay. Picture a toddler, grappling, poking, or touching anything that they see, needing hands-on experience to learn new things. Similarly to the toddler, the younger generations needed hands-on experience in elections. Good morning. My name is Daniel Russell, but most call me by my middle name, Jackson, and I'm the project manager of We Voted Today. We Voted Today aims to encourage political participation among younger generations and to foster an environment where the youth feel comfortable and politically motivated at the polls. This project began when Brittany Allison Burton, the Saline County Clerk, had reached out to my DECA advisor in regards to getting students more involved at the polls. As this year's student body president, I was working on class elections, and that was when my DECA advisor had the insight to mention the Saline County Clerk's concerns. We were then confabulating, and the idea of We Voted Today came to life. Since my grandmother was the previous Saline County Clerk, serving for 12 years before Brittany, I had already been raised in a political environment, thus planting a seed in me that can now grow with this project. Our project was split amongst two different categories, initial goal and long-term goals, both of which were met, and the initial goal consisted of creating a social media. On this social media, we plan to achieve 50 followers, reach our targeted audience, and receive engagement from the youth. For our long-term goals, we wanted to make an educational video to inform students on the importance of exercising their right to vote. Our next goal was to create a mock election that is realistic as possible to ensure that students are comfortable and politically motivated at the polls. None of these goals would have been achieved without my fantastic partnerships. The current Saline County Clerk assisted immensely with her connection with voters, voter education, and her innovative ideas. The retired Saline County Clerk helped exponentially with her election experience, advertising ideas, and overall voting knowledge. Without their help, the word of We Voted Today wouldn't have spread as much as it did. They each assisted in social media. The Saline County Clerk provided educational videos along with daily voting facts, and the retired Saline County Clerk provided what we should talk about within those videos and facts. The top QR code leads you to the We Voted Today Instagram account, and the bottom QR code leads you to the educational video played by the Saline County Clerk on the day of the mock election. Now, on to scheduling. We begin initiating on September 11th. The Saline County Clerk and I gathered to brainstorm project ideas. Recognizing the need to ignite political participation among younger generations, we quickly converged upon the concept of the mock election. Social media was created on September 27th. Recognizing the power of social media for engagement, this project was dedicated to meticulously crafting a captivating platform. The resulting social media presence, infused with creativity and educational content, effectively reached its targeted audience. The next step in this process is candidate filing. On October 4th, a Google form was circulated to all government students, inviting them to declare their candidacy for the mock election. Aspiring politicians submitted brief statements and contact details vying for Marshall Wards 1 through 4 or the mayoral seats. On that same day, I strived hard to ensure that students were aware of what was happening. To maximize participation, students were notified through several different channels. Mass emails reached all government inboxes announcing the dedicated Instagram and key dates. Additionally, engaging intercom announcements and enthusiastic teachers spread the word, ensuring of wider student awareness. On November 1st, DECA leaders, including myself, met the mayor, who proudly declared November as DECA month. Seizing the moment, I mentioned We Voted Today, igniting the mayor's interest and its potential to spark young voter engagement. Later that day, I took center stage on KMMO's Community Spotlight. Leveraging this platform, detailed the fruitful collaboration with the county clerk and eloquently articulated We Voted Today and the project's noble purpose. So here's a quick clip from that radio ad.
On today's KMMO Community Spotlight, we're joined by two students at Marshall High School who are members of the DECA chapter of the Saline County Career Center. November is DECA month, and these students are going to tell us about their DECA projects for this year. Up first is Jackson Russell, a senior at Marshall High School. Jackson, what are you doing for your project?
My DECA project this year is called We Voted Today. It is to encourage political participation for the younger generations. I partnered with the Saline County Clerk, Brittany Burton, in regards to creating a mock election that will be as realistic as possible. Make sure to follow We Voted Today DECA on Instagram to keep up with my project, and SCCC DECA on Instagram, Twitter, also known as X, or Facebook to keep up with our chapter activities.
On November 2nd, I had a feature interview in the newspaper, delving into the intricacies of We Voted Today project and providing a comprehensive overview of its multifaceted development. On to Election Day. On November 28th, the library hummed with the energy of 166 student voters who were given the opportunity to register firsthand. Immersion in the electoral process sparked genuine interest, solidifying the project's impact on empowering young citizens to actively engage in democracy. On November 30th, I enjoyed the privilege of presenting my innovative initiative to the esteemed American Legion members. Captivated by the project's potential, the American Legion bombarded the presentation with insightful questions demonstrating their genuine interest. Now, to the final step in this process, election verification. The mock election came to an end on December 1st with a meticulous election verification. Alongside the Saline County Clerk, Brittany Burton, ballots were systematically processed through the voting machine, ensuring precise vote tallies and solidifying the legitimacy of the mock election. In order for a project to be run effectively and efficiently, one must be able to map out their risk. Let me just redo that. In order for a project to be run effectively and efficiently, one has to be able to identify risks and come up with a solution to them. For this project, we had 4 key risks: voter machine malfunctions, the students vandalizing the ballots, and the county clerk's busy schedule, and voters being unaware of who their candidates are. Voter machine malfunctions may cause us to be unable to cast ballots. Students vandalizing ballots would be quite wasteful. If the county clerk's schedule was too busy, we would have to redo everything for the mock election. And if students were unaware of their candidates, they would have no idea who to vote for. So I'm going to go more in depth in this in the monitoring and controlling section here in a minute. In order for a business or project to be successfully run, one must be able to map out their budget and cost. This graph accurately displays how much this election would have cost if one were to create the mock election with all of the same factors. Our first item is the tabulator. The tabulator is a very important piece of the election process. It scans the ballots and counts all the votes. If a ballot has been vandalized or one too many bubbles have been filled in, the tabulator will then spit the ballot back up. The cost of the tabulator is $4,900. Another vital piece in the process was the ballot box. Once the ballot has been scanned through the tabulator, it is dropped into the ballot box. Once an election is completed, the county clerk can then gather the ballots from the ballot box. The cost of the ballot box is $1,500. In order for individuals to utilize their voice in an election, a ballot is very important. Ballots are vital because they are how people write what changes they want in our society. The cost of the ballots come up to $250. A very exponential factor that goes into an election is the election computer. The election computer is utilized to store the information gathered from the tabulator. After an election is completed, the SD card is gathered from the tabulator and is placed in a card reader that then uploads the election results onto the computer. The price of the election computer is $8,275. Now, on to programming. The programming comes in a form of an SD card and it programs your tabulator for the candidates listed on the ballots. The programming is $378. For this project, I decided to purchase 10 buttons for the individuals who decided to run for the mock election. The button displayed the We Voted Today logo, and they all cost they individually cost $10, which comes up to a total of $60. So the total budget for this project was $15,363. Within a business, one must be able, wait, didn't skip, hang on. Oh, there we go. Within a business, one must be able to identify a problem and find a solution. In the monitoring and controlling section, it displays all of our problems along with all of our solutions. Our first problem was the low voter turnout from the youth. The mock election was created to inspire the younger generations in an election environment. The next issue is the lack of engagement in We Voted Today. In order to find a solution to this problem, social media was created, emails were sent, and the intercom was utilized. Our next problem is the lack of student engagement in We Voted Today, but I utilized social media, email, and the intercom for this as well. Another lack was social media engagement, but social media shared by email, DECA members, and myself eliminated this issue. An obstacle We Voted Today had was not all students had access to social media or the internet, but utilizing government teachers and intercoms to inform students assisted immensely, ensuring the word of We Voted Today got out to all the individuals who do not have internet access. Two of the biggest issues we had to face were the Saline County Clerk's busy schedule and students vandalizing ballots. To ensure that the county clerk wasn't too busy for the mock election, I reached out months in advance to ensure her spot for that day. To handle students vandalizing ballots, there were extra ballots purchased, and the vandalized ballots were labeled spoiled and separated into a separate folder. Although it was wasteful, there was an educational aspect to it as well. Typically at this time, I'd pass around a spoiled ballot, but today it's a little different. This graph displays the project's key metrics with the metrics, objectives, and their outcome. The first metric was with the project we wanted was to get student outreach. The original objective was to reach government students specifically, but the outcome was that the entire student body was reached along with the National Honor Society. The next metric was to have a community impact. The main goal was to have an impact solely on the younger generations, but all generations were impacted from the American Legion to the KMMO ad. Another important metric was social media engagement. The initial objective was to reach 20 likes and 50 followers, but the like count increased by 200% with 60 likes, and the follower count increased by 100% with 100 followers. Now, on to collaborations. The initial idea was to meet with the current Saline County Clerk, but the collaborations were extended to the Marshall High School staff and the retired Saline County Clerk as well. Youth engagement. I initially wanted to get the youth engaged in the mock election only, but the engagement occurred through social media, intercom fax, extra credit, National Honor Society, and the mock election. One of the most important measures was the educational impact, but social media was going to be utilized only for educational purposes. The mock election was the most educational experience due to the educational videos of the Saline County Clerk. Alrighty, so here's some pictures of the day of the mock election. And then since I took on this project, I decided to assist with the April 2nd election. The mock election served as a centerpiece of the project, offering students a captivating and realistic replica of the electoral process. During their designated government class hour, students streamed into the polling area to cast their votes. As they signed in, they were engaged by an informative video created by the county clerk highlighting the importance of civic participation and clear explanations of the contested positions. To further amplify the immersive experience, voter registration cards were readily available for those seeking to complete the process. So here's a clip of the Saline County Clerk's educational video.
I'm Brittany Allison Burton. I am your Saline County Clerk in your local election authority. So let's quick touch base on why it's important to exercise our right to vote. Our vote is our voice. That is how we the people are telling our government on all levels, these are the changes that we need to see. So we're telling them this is how we are going to get better schools and healthcare and roads and all of the things that affect our day-to-day lives. That is how we get our voice heard by the masses. So we use our vote as our voice for a better tomorrow. I'm Brittany.
We've delved into the intricate mechanics of We Voted Today, a learning experience much like a toddler's hand-on exploration. Just as children grasp new concepts through direct engagement, understanding the nuances of the electoral process can empower younger generations. Thank you for your time and attention, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Any questions? Mel?
What percent of the student population actually voted?
Right, so it was government students, so all juniors are required to take a government class at Marshall High School, but I ended up having 166 voters. Out of around, how many schools are at Marshall High School? 800, 900? How many juniors? Well, there's about 200 juniors in the class, so I mean, there were some absences and probably a field trip that day as well.
Any other questions?
Jackson, thank you for your presentation. This is an extensive process, and in any voting process, you want to make sure that your data is uncorrupted and that you keep track of everything. So how did you manage, and what did you use to stay on track and keep track of all of the data that you're collecting?
Right, so I recorded phone calls with the county clerk that I then transferred to a Google Doc that then I put into my planner and a Google Calendar to set reminders for the dates.
I have a question. My question would be, through your research and doing this project, how do you feel that high school students, are they engaged in politics? Are they interested in politics locally and nationally? What did you find out from your information?
Right, I found out that they really did enjoy the process, and I noticed that they actually had no idea how to even vote, but this, with all the real election equipment and all those things, they got to go in there, cast their ballots, and I really think it inspired them when they turn 18, or they could register to vote now because they're 17 and a half, but.
So you found out there was a lot of interest in the political system.
Yes.
Amongst your age group.
Yes, definitely.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have a question. I actually have two. I may have missed the answer for the first one. How did you manage getting the knowledge around of the candidates so people actually know who they're voting for? And then my second question is this project going to keep going? Are you planning to keep it on for the next generations and get more traction, or what's the plan for the future?
Right, so the candidates were gathered in a Google form and it was students that were allowed to run. So the students they submitted details about who they were and that kind of thing. So then their picture was posted on social media with their brief statement. And then it was also posted in the library. And then those individuals were listed on the ballot so they could vote. So they were aware before they went in. And yes, next year somebody actually does plan to take this project on. Since I only did it at Marshall High School, the person that's going to take it on next year is going to spread it to more schools around Saline County.
Good. Any other questions?
Is it a state law that high school juniors have to take government?
Okay, go ahead, Bev, ask the question again then, please.
I'm ignorant of the state law that high school juniors have to take government.
I'm actually unsure of that, but I know Marshall High School does require that.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Question back there, yeah.
So why did you limit the voters to only the government students?
Because honestly, I did not. Okay, so we did it in the library, and the Marshall High School library has limited space. And since the government students were actually learning about the electoral process, I thought it was a very convenient time period to have a mock election. So I reached out to the government teachers, and they decided that they wanted to participate in this.
I don't so much want to use the word forced, but you have mentioned that a lot of the people are required to do this. Do you have any ideas of how in the future you can almost make them more interested and want to do it outside of just as a requirement?
Right, so I kind of tried to do that through social media. I posted like engaging facts and like kind of I let students be let them personalize their social media posts for like their candidacy. So pretty much I let them, so some submitted goofy things like funny stuff about themselves, and then they submitted a serious thing, and I think that's how it got them to be pretty engaged in this.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Kerry, you come back up, please, and we'll continue to have it open for questions, whether you want to talk about DECA or, again, to any other students. So have you both come up. And any other questions? What a wonderful presentation by both of these students. So let's give them a hand. And any other questions you might have? About the DECA program, this is one of the best around. So questions?
You can ask direct questions back to Gentry if you have questions about her presentation as well.
Okay, so we appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming, Karen. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, when I retire from here, can I get a job? I think you're going to have a very successful company by then, okay? All right, thank you. Thank you very much again, appreciate it. We'll take a little break, and then we'll come back with Kelly Asbury. So be back in about 5 minutes. We'll have our second presentation.